Shawnti Jackson, welcome to the Call Room Road to Seattle. How are you doing this afternoon?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm doing really good. Excited for this conversation. You were an absolute legend in high school, so I feel like I've wanted to make this one happen for a hot minute. Let's go back to a year ago. So,
Mhm.
April 2023. Is it weird to think all that's happened in this past year? High school probably seems so far ago.
Um, it was. I honestly still don't believe that it's true. I'm very pleased, more than pleased with my season last year, and it still amazes me how many records and stuff I got last year.
What are some of the biggest things you miss from the high school experience? Doesn't even have to be track. It could also be like school or just being a high school student.
Um, I kind of miss like having my parents. Like now, everything is on my own. Back then, my parents woke me up. I didn't have to worry about setting an alarm. I didn't have to worry about being late majority of the time. And I just have to make my lunches and stuff. Now I gotta find my own lunch and all that. That's one of the main things I miss.
Speaking on present day, being an athlete at Arkansas, what are some of your favorite aspects of being a collegiate D1 athlete?
Um, my main thing that I love is being a part of a team. And not just a regular team, like a really good team. We all have the same goals and ambitions. And we all like lift each other up. We have fun. We know when to be serious. And we don't have like that one person that's like negative or anything or just overwhelming. Everybody has fun, everybody gets along. And you just be a part of a really great team.
As we're talking here towards the end of April, I feel like we're in a unique time period within the season where season's kicked off, a few meets have gone on, but there's also so much season left. How do you feel as we stand here late April?
Um, I'm very I'm very content. I didn't have the indoor season that I wanted, and I haven't started my outdoor season yet. But the outdoor season is such a long season; it's only April, so I'm content with where we're at.
Coming into college, how did you like handle the pressure and expectation? We'll obviously get into your high school years and how dominant you were. I feel like you've handled it super well in terms of just like the expectation and pressure. Naturally, as a national record holder and breaking such a historic record, like the spotlight's going to be on you a little bit. How have you managed that and try to be like, I'm just a freshman in college. I'm figuring things out. Like, I don't want to like do anything too crazy too soon.
Yes. When I was in high school, I just learned how to have fun. My dad's been preparing me to have fun and not really listen to the critics. So back in high school, I just had fun. I had really tough competitors that became one of my greatest friends. So I was able to have fun with them. It was always like a nice competitive atmosphere every time we stepped on the track. And my freshman year, I just took in the experience. You're only a freshman once. So I just really took in the experience, took in my first SECs, my first NCAAs, and I just made sure I take it all in. I wasn't too worried about track. I was worried about it, but like I didn't let that stress me out my freshman year because I still have 3 more years left.
Right. Let's talk about your parents. They've gotten brought up a little bit. They were, at least in the little research I've done, incredible athletes themselves. Growing up, were you aware how good your parents were?
They're all right. But honestly, growing up now I know, but growing up I didn't. My mom quit. She's lame. She quit. But my dad, he never really brought track around. He honestly didn't want me to run track at first because he didn't want me to be like an influence on. He didn't want to be an influence on me or like push me to do what he did. So he really didn't bring it around. I was just like, oh, my dad left to go to work. He came back a week later with just diamond in his hand. Like it was just, he's gone. He'll be back. And when I did go to track meets, I was like itty bitty, so I don't really remember.
When you were starting to get more serious and competitive in the sport, what was their kind of reaction and how much did you bounce off, ideas off of them? How much were you looking for like their wisdom and insight from their own careers, or was it pretty separate? You didn't talk about it too much with them.
Um, I honestly didn't take track seriously until like my sophomore year of high school, and I've been running track since I was like 8, and I've only took it serious in high school because soccer was first. Soccer was my main love. My dad wanted me to take track serious, so I was like, I don't even care for track. Track was conditioning for soccer. Like all I cared about was soccer, and we had so many arguments. I didn't even want to run track. I wanted to quit like 10 times, and I tried. And then he told me to come to practice on Monday, so that didn't really go to plan. But when I started taking it super serious, I started off by just paying attention more in practice because my dad he gives these long lectures at practice about how to be great. So I really just started paying attention to them. Every now and then I may ask them a couple questions, and every now and then they started realizing that I was actually starting to take it serious. And I quit soccer, and well, he made me quit soccer, but I wasn't too upset about quitting soccer. And when he saw that I wasn't too upset, that's when he realized that I'm taking it serious, and he was proud. I think it was a proud dad moment.
Was there a specific speech he gave or like a flip the switch moment that you can look back to and recall of doing track to do it because your parents wanted you to versus doing track because you were like, this is my thing. I'm going to see how far I can go in this sport?
As a kid, it was because he said I'd make more money, but because soccer, I mean, track makes more money than soccer. Soccer, you relied on the coach, blah, blah, blah. That's what really flipped the switch. But then I started realizing I have more potential in track. I ran pretty decent times my freshman year and my freshman year and my 8th grade year in middle school. So that's what really pushed me to excel more.
I want to hear more about the soccer side of you. If you think, talking here today as a freshman in college, if you think Shawnti went all in on soccer, do you think she would have made it to the pros?
Honestly, no.
Okay.
I'm too clumsy. My hand-eye coordination is horrible. Oh, my feet-eye coordination. Like, I was too fast for the ball. But I feel like if I would have got that down, I would have been great. Because I'm very, a little too. My brother played football, and a lot of my friends were boys that played football. So I was very aggressive. I think that's what really helped me in soccer. But once I got like the foot down, I think I would have made it, honestly.
Okay. You said aggressive. Have we ever seen a red card come out during a game with
I gave
Shawnti?
a girl a concussion on accident. It was an accident.
Did a red card come from it?
No, because she started it first. She had asthma. She
Oh.
kept running, so she kept grabbing my shirt and stuff. And then when it was an open field, I forgot about the ball. I just ran straight into her. He stood us up and we had to apologize.
Sometimes it's bad to be so fast. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I was technically going for the ball, but I forgot to go for the ball. But he doesn't know that.
It's funny because I think Usain Bolt, after his career in track, tried soccer. I think a little unsuccessfully, but I think he did decent. Would we ever see a comeback tour post-track soccer?
Yes, I've
Really?
been talking to my mom about it.
Okay. So you got to call Brooks, be like, make some soccer cleats.
Yes.
My time's coming. My time's coming. Are there any other sports that you wish you would have tried growing up that you think you would have been really good at?
I don't know, because I'm athletic, but at the same time, I'm not athletic at the same time. Like, basketball, I was decent in. I just couldn't shoot. I was great at defense because you had to move quick. Soccer, you had to move quick. Everything that you have to move quick, I'm pretty good at. Flag football, I was pretty decent. But, like, volleyball and all those other technical sports, I'm not very technical.
You need a sport with foot speed. Sets you apart. Yeah.
Tennis, I sucked at.
Was there a moment on the track, like a specific race or something, where you got an indication that you could do all the things that you ultimately went on to do your senior year?
When I got my first high school national record at Melrose in the 60, because I didn't see it coming. I wasn't worried about high school records. I was still trying to get into the groove of track. I really didn't know track like that. So I wasn't really paying attention to high school records or anything. I think my parents talked briefly about it. But so I knew what it was, but I didn't know like the exact times, and I didn't know who had it, all that stuff. But once I realized, because after I ran the race, I didn't know I had it until my dad pulled me to the back, and he was like, "Oh, you got the high school national record, blah blah blah." And I was like, "Oh, that's why everybody was so excited." So that's when I really knew that I could be something.
And was that junior year or sophomore year?
I think it's,
if you remember,
junior.
Okay, junior year. And you mentioned your dad a few times in the context of what sounds like he was your coach. Was he your high school coach?
Yes.
Okay. How did you balance that coach-father relationship and try to not intermingle too much?
My dad has been my coach since when I started track, I was with a club, but after like my first year, he started his club, and he's always been my coach since. And at first, it was rough, and it made it worse because I really wasn't into track that much. He would like and I wasn't that good when I first started. I was actually terrible. I was one of those that like walked in the middle of the 100. I was one of those. So he always like bring track home, and I don't care for tracks. I don't want to care for talking about it. So we got into a lot of arguments about that, and we bumped heads a lot because we're like the same person. But as we got older, he realized that I don't want to talk about track all the time, and he needs to separate the track and the dad. And I realized that he was just passionate. So towards like my high school career, he started to be able to separate it more.
Was it super special when you did ultimately get good, for lack of a better way of putting it, and started to get those records and win those titles, win those state championships, those national titles, and share those moments with him as your dad, as your coach?
Yeah, it was. It was great. And he brags about it because I'm technically his first athlete that he ever coached. But yeah, it was a really great bonding moment. It just shows how hard we worked. We both sacrificed a lot. He mainly sacrificed more than me, honestly. So it was a really great achievement for the both of us.
Coming to Arkansas, was it weird not having him as a coach for the first time in your life?
Oh, yes, it most definitely was.
Yeah.
Since I'm very shy and I don't like to speak up for myself, it was very hard. But with him, I never had to speak up for myself because he knows me.
Right.
He knows when I'm about to cry before I even cry. Like it was hard going to somebody else who has to worry about 20 other kids and doesn't really know me like that, especially coming as a freshman, has no clue of how I am, how my personality is. And that was the hardest part.
You mentioned that 60-meter indoor record at Milrose junior year of high school. You also mentioned early on that quote, you were bad at track. You were the type of girl to walk in the middle of a 100-meter rep. What changed in that time period that gave you the drive and passion and energy you needed to train to get a time like that?
My dad kicked me off the track. Yeah, it took a lot of 1 year at it was USATF Nationals. I was like nervous and jittery before the race, and I really didn't want to run. He cursed me out. After the race, he cursed me out because I did horrible. He cursed me out, and that's when I got the. That's when I haven't. After that, I haven't really been nervous. That taught me how to control my nerves. And then the times I was lazy, he'd be like, "Get off my track, don't come back." He was my dad. He was my ride home, so I really had nowhere to go. I was just sitting there watching everybody practice, and it took a lot of me getting kicked out of practice to really like stay focused.
When you were at like your peak, so like junior, senior year, when you were fully intent, probably weren't getting kicked off the track. What was the training like? Like, how hard did he train you? I'm more of a distance guy, so I know very little about sprint training. Like, what did a normal week look like for you in terms?
Honestly, I used to do like a good amount of 400s, and I started off with the two. I did the one, but I loved the 200. And I did a lot of 800s. I did like at least once a season. I did one 800 a season. So I'm more of a strength based sprinter kind of. So I did a lot of 1,000 repeats. I did a lot of miles. I did a lot of 600 repeats, 400 repeats. And then I got to like towards like the post season is when I started doing like a lot of sprint block work. But I mainly did a lot of endurance or sprint endurance and tempo.
As a distance guy, again, I'm curious to ask you, what's the furthest you've ever run, like in one day or one practice?
Um, I think it was 2.5 miles.
Okay.
Before, yeah, preseason, we have to do 2.5 miles every day for like a month and a half.
Really? That seems far
Yeah,
for sprinters.
yeah. Tell me about it. I hated it, and it was hilly. So all them hills, I hated it. And we went to the cross country course, and we had to run on it. It was so bad.
So I got to ask you this then. Brooks is like premier athlete at the moment, Josh Kerr. I think he's run, pardon me, Brooks people listening. I should know this. I think like 329 in the 15, which would probably be like 346, 347 in the mile. How many meters would you last with Josh at that pace?
About
I could
50 meters.
50? No, you
I,
could.
I was like, I could last a good little bit. I could last a good little bit. Like I probably say like a good 400 meters. I could stay
Okay.
with him.
Okay. So you can pace Josh for 400 meters of like a world record attempt one day. It'll make it exciting for the fans. So
Yeah.
let's talk about the senior year. Successful junior year, going into your senior year, did you believe in yourself to accomplish all the things you ended up accomplishing? Like, did you expect that, or was it each race you kind of surprised yourself?
Honestly, I surprised myself a good little bit because my senior year, I was just worried about just soaking. Like my freshman year, I was like soaking everything in. Just this is my last of everything. So I was really trying. Cause you're not gonna. High school isn't the same as college and pro. High school is the easiest it's gonna get. So I was just admiring how easy, well not easy, but like how stress free everything is. I don't have to worry about a time. I don't chase a time. I don't have to worry about this or that. But I was surprised that I actually ran that fast. 1080 is pretty fast.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, for sure. Before we talk about the senior year some more, I am curious, when is the first time you heard of the Brooks PR meet and what was your experience going there for the first time?
I heard about it my sophomore year when they invited me, and I was like, I mean, this seems like a yacht party. This seems like it'd be pretty fun. And the main thing that caught my eye was my parents wouldn't have to be there. My parents are they can be a bit much. Parents can sometimes be distracting. They don't even know it. So that really I really want to go. But sadly I couldn't compete because I strained my hamstring. I mean my quad a week before. And then the day I got cleared was the day that we were supposed to run, and I did the shakeout, and that messed it all up again. But I really, even though I didn't run, I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed just everybody, all the since there was no parents, all the athletes had to mingle, or you'd just be lonely in the corner. So it forced me to make some friends, go out my comfort zone a little bit, and to really be like a pro athlete. It gives you like the pro athlete feel of having to wake up on your own and warm up and stuff. Well, your coach was there, but like meeting your coach at the track and having to warm up there and go back, and they have like a little surprise, which is the yacht party, and that was really fun. But when I got to compete, it was even more fun.
Yeah, junior year, take me through that experience, being able to run, come back, and run this time.
Actually, junior fun fact, that was my first race because I had shin splints in both shins, grade 3 stress reaction, and so I had to take like 10 weeks off. And my first meet to qualify for trials was Brooks, and I haven't won a Brooks meet. And I came out there and I won. I really ran a pretty fast time, and I was so excited. And I went and I had like the most fun at that place. And then we had the day before, I think that's when they brought us to the aquarium and stuff. So we had a lot of bonding time, and we got to experience Seattle and go to like it's like some museum of photography or something. We
Okay.
had to took pictures or something. And it was really fun. That year was really fun. I made the most friends that year.
Yeah. And then senior year, coming back, what was it like coming back as a champion, third time, but only running once before? Back to back. Did you feel any pressure to go back to back?
No, because I like to have fun. Brooks is one of the most fun meets that I've been to because the parents aren't there, so we get to bond. Yeah, sometimes
Shawnti
parents be a
really
little
does
bit
not like the
bonding.
parents, man.
No,
Sorry for all the parent listeners today.
that's okay. They I think they like to having a break from us anyway.
Yeah,
You know,
very
especially the
fair.
momagers. They be like, no, my kid has to go to bed at this time. They don't. Some parents be a little strict, and some coaches be a little. So having the be free of all that and just be a kid and lock in on meet day. Everybody locks in, so you're forced to lock in anyway.
Right.
That's pretty fun. But my senior year, it was a pretty big deal because it was me and Mia Brahe. We were both there, so everybody was like, it was like the event to watch, kind of. And there was a lot of really good events and some really good lineups that year too. So that was probably the most intense Brooks PR, in my opinion. In my opinion.
Yeah, take me through the race itself.
That race. So I don't know. I came to the track meet. I put my headphones in. I was warming up. My dad did not. This is the first time my dad never warmed up with me. So it was very different. And when I did some of my warm up, he was standing on the in the stands, and I went to him to get my strides and stuff. And I had my AirPod in. He was on the phone, and he would tell me when to go, sprint, all that jazz. And I felt ready, honestly. I felt really ready, and I went in, and I was just mainly focused on my reaction, getting out the blocks, and make sure I'm staying efficient. So I just made sure to stay efficient. I already proved myself earlier in the year, so it's not like I had to prove anything else. I was just going out there to have fun and enjoy the meet, and I just got up and went.
Yeah. And won the thing in 11, I think 0-0.
Yeah.
For me, like in high school, I was like a 2 miler. You have so much time to think in a 9-10 minute race. so much time to think that if you ask me about some of my races, I could give you like lap by like what I was thinking on laps. I'm curious for the sprints for an 11-second race. Do you like? Are you thinking anything? Like, what's the process like? Do you even remember the race, or is it more just before and after?
So like when you have like a long dream and you wake up and you don't remember anything that you had a dream, but you don't remember what was in the dream.
Yeah.
That's how it is. 11 seconds
Okay.
feel like super long, like you're talking and you're talking to yourself, or you may making noises or whatever. Sometimes you just hear yourself breathing, but it's just like after I don't remember. Besides the 10-8, I remember that. But the rest of them, I know I'm talking. I know I'm saying something. I just don't remember what it was.
And for you, like in a 100-meter race, because I know nothing about sprints, so apologies for my ignorance and lack of knowledge here. But like, I would assume that, I don't know, because there's a 60. I feel like the hundred's at a point where you could potentially keep going at that speed, but you run out of track. Is there a point in the 100 that it like particularly hurts that you have to continue to dig, or is it? I don't know anything about sprints. Does that make sense?
Yeah, honestly, after like the 60, 70 meter, you can't go any faster. So you're just
Okay,
holding on. And you sometimes like die out. You start to die out a little bit. That's why the 100 is like so. You have to have like the perfect form to keep that momentum going. Unless you're just gonna die out and you can get slower and slower and slower and slower.
got it. So it's more about who can get to 60 meters the fastest and then die
Hold on,
first.
who could hold it? Yeah,
Okay,
really.
got it. So what are you doing in training to like really perfect that acceleration, that first 60?
The first 60, I do a lot of like top top speed work, like a lot of flying 60s, flying 30s. I do a couple block starts. I don't really worry about my block starts too much. I know I probably should, but well, at that time, I wasn't really worried about my block starts. I was more worried about every year. Me and my dad work on something different, and we worked on block starts more than usual. But on that part, I just work on my top hand speed.
For you, you run 11 flat at Brooks PR. You were running fast all throughout the season. How much was that national record on your mind before closing out your high school career?
It honestly wasn't. I'm not gonna say that. Of course, I wanted to get it, but it wasn't like I need to get it. It was
Right.
one of those like, oh, I would love to have that. And I honestly wasn't that race. I I honestly didn't want to. I wasn't supposed to run that race. I was supposed to run the
Really?
prelims. Yeah, I wasn't supposed to run the finals. But yeah.
What changed?
Um. So I don't know. Well, in the video you could see I had like tape around my knee. My knee was bugging me a little bit, and so I was on the phone with my dad. I was like, because he wasn't able to make it. So I was like, my knee is bothering me a little bit, but I feel like in the prelims I felt like I didn't get out hard enough. And he was like, okay, well get stretched out. How's you feel? I was like, it's just a little achy. And he was like, okay, get stretched out, cool down, bye bye, call me back. And so I called him back before I warmed up. And I was like, my knee's fine. But I was tired. It was hot. I was tired. But I wasn't going to say that. I was like, fine. And so I warmed up. And before I got on the line, I was like so sluggish. I was tired. I wanted to get this race over with. And I wanted to go home. It had to be like 110 degrees. It was only like 95. But it felt like 110 degrees. And so, and I was just going out there and just running.
So you're telling me the race you run 10:8:9 broke the national record. You one didn't really want to run the race, and two, when you were going to run the race, you thought, I want this to be over with.
Yeah, I wanted to be over. I was doing block starts, and since my dad was there, my mom, she's like a little, she's she doesn't really talk that much. So I had my coach now, that coach is here, Boogie Johnson. He was there. I didn't really know him at the time, but my dad called him and asked him, "Can he do my blocks? Well, call the blocks for me." And so I was going through those, and I was like, "Man, I really don't want to do this." But then it happened to be one of my best executed races.
Why do you
Everything I
think that
worked on,
is?
probably because I wasn't thinking about it.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, when you don't think
So
about
that's the
things
key.
happening. Yeah, just don't think.
What would you say to someone listening who's an overthinker and is like overthinking a big upcoming race?
Well, I learned to not tell an overthinker to not think. That's like the last thing you want to tell to an overthinker. I'll just say like probably find something else to think about or talk to somebody. Like I know when I get nervous, my dad could know because I started talking about random stuff. I just start playing around, or I play around beforehand so I don't get nervous. Like I just start playing around, talk about random stuff, warming up, talk about nothing that has to do with track. People are like, you're supposed to be locked in. No, if I lock in, I'm gonna think too much about the race, and it's not gonna be the race you want.
Is there a point before the race that you do lock in, like right before the gun, or are you
I
just
get
like not thinking about it the whole time?
it depends. If I know, like at U20s and stuff, I had no choice but to lock in at call time because there's nothing else I was supposed to do. For the relays and stuff, I had teammates talk to, so I was talking to them. So then before the race, we was in call time for the call area for like an hour before we went out. So then I would try to think about other things, but I had no choice but to think about my race. So then I thought about it. But usually at a regular meet, I usually don't think about it till I get on the line, really. And it's nothing to think about, really.
What do you remember most from that 10.89 national record race? When did you find out you got the record, and what were the emotions and feelings when you found out?
Um, when I crossed the line, I didn't hear him when he said the time because it was so quiet. It was a small meet. I just saw that I won a pro meet. I was like, oh my gosh, I just won a pro race with Melissa Jefferson and all them, and I just won a pro race, and I was so happy and ecstatic. And then when I was walking back, I kind of heard it faintly. I was like, no way, but I was like 10-8. That's too. I still don't believe it.
Reality still hasn't set in almost a year
Yeah,
later. Is it weird though with like a record where you win a Brooks PR meet and like you get a golden spike and like there's something you can look at to remember the memory. With a record, I don't think you get anything. Uh, does that almost make you like forget that you have it? Whereas like
no,
championships, you get medals and stuff.
no, you most definitely remember because it keeps getting brought up. It gets
Okay,
brought up like at least once a day.
really?
Somebody always say something. Yeah, it
Does that
always
annoy
gets
you?
brought up. No,
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 fuels you.
yeah, I worked hard for that.
Yeah, yeah. Does running a result like that show you how much more you can go? Where you run such a fast time, are you then thinking like the next day, like, oh, 10.7's next, like 10.6, like how much did that result show you how much further you can go in the sport?
It showed me I could go way further because then, as like I said, I had like a little knee problem, and it was small. It was just like tendonitis, something small, but I wasn't lifting weights in high school, so that just shows how much progression. Weights makes you a little more explosive and makes your muscles a little stronger to withhold how fast you're running. So, and I wasn't really doing too much technique work. So that just shows that I have a lot of room to improve.
Last year, you were named the 2023 USATF Youth Athlete of the Year. When was that shared with you, announced to you, and what were the emotions and feelings kind of encapsulating that whole super successful spring?
Um, Honestly, didn't know about that until like I think a month before. My godmom, she called me. My goddy beeman, she called and she was like, I have somebody that want to talk to you. I said, okay. And then she was like, I've been nominated for the award and I have to go somewhere. And I was like, oh, wow, that's pretty cool. And I called my mom. She's like, I already know. I said, what? And then I called my dad and he was like, oh, yeah. I was like, what do you mean? Oh, yeah, nobody wants to tell me. They want my grandma to tell me. But I was like so happy. And I wasn't happy at the moment because I knew like 2 weeks prior. But I celebrated. Me and my dog, Callie, we celebrated.
Yeah, tell me about your dog, Callie. I want to hear about him.
Oh, I love Callie. Callie is my baby. I came to school before I came to school. I was like, I'm gonna get a dog. I said, I don't know what dog, but I'm gonna get a dog. And I want a funny looking dog. And I was obsessed with dogs with underbites. And then I came to school, and like 2 weeks later, my dad was like, one of the girls on the team, dad is selling Frenchies. I never heard of a Frenchie before. I was like, it was just a dog. And I was like, yeah, I want the dog. And I spent my don't tell my coach. Coach, if you're watching this, I'm sorry. But I spent my cost of attendance on my dog, and I was so happy, and I got her here, and she's like my little emotional support animal, even though we both need emotional support, because Frenchies are really crazy. I didn't realize how crazy they were. She's very crazy. But that is my baby. She brings me joy, so much joy. She's so funny. She got the underbite. I didn't know she had an underbite until like 3 months of having her. It finally grew in. But I love her. I'm going to get her, if I could, I'm going to get her paw print on my spike. I'm going to get her paw print engraved. That's my baby.
Where did the name Callie come from?
Cause I wanted a boy, but she happened to be a girl. She was the runt. She was the last one, so I had no choice but to take her. And my mom was like, "Why don't you name her Callie after Cali, Columbia, my first world team?" And I was like, "Okay." And it's
It's a
not a
good
bad
idea.
name.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we talked a lot about your senior year. You run 10.89. You close the season down soon after. What were the reflections removed from the season looking back on all the success you had?
Um, I reflected. I reflected on my races and how at some point in the season I started to do more like sprint based stuff, and I went away from my endurance side, and I saw how that affected me. So I realized that I'm more of a endurance quarter mile based sprinter. So I like to do a lot of more quarter mile workouts, like a little bit of sprinting, and it puts together. So I did some reflection on that. I did some reflection on like the way I run and stuff, and that it's only the beginning, honestly. I realized that I have so much to improve on, and that I did an okay season. I had an okay season. I can't hype myself up too much.
You're
I
way
don't
too
want to get
humble.
too comfortable.
I had an okay season after running a national record, winning a bunch of races, beating pros. I mean, do you think that's what makes you great is like you always want more? You always want to accomplish more? You never
Yeah,
set your ceiling too low?
yeah. I don't let like the like national record. I didn't even celebrate for it. I called my dad. He cried. That made me feel good. Making your dad cry happy tears. That's a good feeling. My mom, she never cries. I'm pretty sure she cries. She just didn't want. She didn't want me to see. So just have that day. I did. That was my celebration. Is why hearing my dad cry for 10 minutes, and then the next day it was just you're a decent athlete.
Back to the grind.
Yeah.
Back to it. Back to it. Let's talk about your time thus far at Arkansas. What's this been like? What's the training been like? The races. Take me through the first. I was gonna say first few months. The year's flown by. I guess it's almost first year, freshman season.
It was amazing. I haven't really been part of like a huge team before. My team, I've been part of a team like when I was younger, like an actual like part of a team. So this is like I actually got to experience like a part of a team without my dad being the coach. So I experienced everything I've never experienced before, and I loved it. I love my team. I wouldn't trade them for the world. I love them. I love everybody on them. I love my coaches, Buggy Crazy Self, Johnson. They both crazy. I love both of them. I'm very happy I chose it here. The workouts are very tough. I don't think anybody can outwork the Arkansas girls, but it's something to get used to.
What are your ambitions for the rest of the year? Again, we're talking towards the end of April. What are some things you want to accomplish in the 2024 season?
Um, Probably to get back moving, get back and to make it to NCAA's, run at NCAA's. Hopefully, be an NCAA champion. I need it. Well, I don't need it, but I would love to be an NCAA champion. Or then trials, really.
Let's talk about Brooks. When was the first time? Was Brooks PR the first time you heard about the company, or was it before then?
Um, no, my mom was one of those moms that like walk around the track, so she always talked about Brooks and Asics and all those companies other than Nike and Adidas that I knew about.
What was the first time that Brooks reached out to you, and what was that kind of relationship like, starting to build a partnership around you being a Brooks athlete?
I think they reached out. Well, I don't know when they reached out. They reached out to my agent, Bashan. They reached out to him, and they told me about it before I moved in. And then I got my first call, and I loved them. I loved Clara. I loved Garrett. They were really fun, energetic, and it felt more than just a business.
I know you got other offers from other companies besides Garrett and Clara, who are the absolute goats. What were some things that made Brooks stand out to you that made you want to join the family?
Brooks, they're more besides them. Brooks just seems like more welcoming. They seem very. They just they care for their athletes. They love their athletes. Their athletes come first, and I really love that. Of course, all companies their athletes come first, but it's just like it's different with Brooks.
What does it mean to you to be the first ever NIL athlete, male or female, for Brooks? Does it feel cool to kind of make history in that sense?
Yeah, it feels really good. It feels really good. It's just the start of something. Hopefully, more kids get Brooks. I mean, yeah, NILs with Brooks because it's honestly it's good to get an NIL with Brooks.
What's been your favorite part thus far working with the company?
When I got to go to the headquarters, it was really nice. Got to meet the team. Everybody is very welcoming. Everybody's very humble. I met Josh. He's really nice. I didn't. Some people look different in the uniforms than they do in person, and I honestly didn't know that was him when I first met him. So I was like, "Oh, there's a nice guy I met in the parking lot." And Claire was like, "Oh, Josh." I said, "Yeah, I guess he was very sweet." And I've been seeing him all over. But the whole team, the whole atmosphere, the team's very close. Even though they all may run the same event, different events, they all train together and they all eat together. And it's very nice to see how close pro athletes are.
If you had to pick one piece of gear from Brooks, shoe or apparel, what's the one thing you can't go without that's Brooks?
Ghost Max. I actually had them on today. I don't know where they are. But the Ghost Max I wear them every day. I got more orthotics just to fit the Ghost Max. They're so comfortable. I love those. I have like 3 pair of them.
Shawnti, really appreciate our conversation today. Wrapping it up here. The final question I ask every single guest on every single episode. If you had Gordon Ramsay coming over to your house or apartment or whatever your situation is, dorm in college, what would you choose to make for him?
I make?
Yeah, you're cooking for Gordon Ramsay. What do
Oh,
you choose
that's
to
a
make for
plot
him?
twist. I make him a nice bowl of cereal.
Okay. What's the bowl of cereal? Favorite cereal?
Ugh.
What are you serving?
I don't have a favorite cereal. I don't love all cereals. But I'm starting to grow out of cereal. But you can't go wrong with like Fruity Pebbles, like Cheerios, Lucky Charms. I love Lucky Charms.
Lucky Charms for Gordon Ramsay. Sounds good to me.
Yeah.
Shawnti, really appreciate our conversation. Thank you so much for taking the time to do this, talk through all your success and all you are as a person. Best of luck this upcoming season. And I think the word on the street was maybe you'll be at Brooks PR. So I might see you at Brooks PR. If so, yeah, I'm excited to see you. And I was going to say race, but you're not going to race. So I don't know. Excited to see you. Thank you so much for the conversation.
Thank you.